Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. Game week 24 is done. How did that game week go for you? With an average of 55 points, how did you do? Well, on my end, I have some great news. After nearly 7 weeks of free falling, I have finally broken my duct. I am finally on the mend, on the rise. Green arrows. I hope I can do this for 7 weeks. I got 64 when average was 55, and I'd been stuck on 36 or something. Disaster. So I am just happy to be doing better. But also, one of the things that an average of 55 signifies is a collective improvement. And it is also proof to me that there is life beyond Haaland. So let's reflect a little bit on the game week. Brighton took on Leeds, and in this game, Everton needed a 97th minute equalizer to get the game to 1-1. So both teams who were clean sheet favorites. That didn't quite work out according to what we wanted. Diarra for the second week in a row has gotten returns. Leeds took on Arsenal. Saka did not play because he played. At least the manager was looking at the cup game, which they had last night on Tuesday. So Arsenal squad rotation, honestly, at this point, it feels like it's Gabriel and Rice who are not rotated. And Raya, of course. So be careful with that. So if you had Saka, you lost. If you had Madueke, you were good. I think also Gabriel Jesus has really come back with fire. I think that injury, I don't want to say it did him good, because it did not. But he's come back like a new player, like a new signing. Like Arsene Wenger used to say when people came back from injury. He feels like a new signing. Bournemouth got a clean sheet so if you're one of those people who still have Senesi, you guys are the real MVPs. They gave a debut to Ryan, who is Semenyo's replacement. So keep watching him. He might turn out to be somebody interesting. It is still not quite clear to see who the hero is after Semenyo goes, but Ryan had a solid debut. Adley also contributed for the second week in a row, and Krupi Jr. scored. I would say one of the very English-sounding names will score for Bournemouth, and it was Scott this time, or it's Scott Hill Brooks Scott this time. Chelsea took on West Ham. Somerville continues his incredible run. Bowen scored. João Pedro is also on a sneaky good run. There was squad rotation as well, which may have affected some. And I think Rosinho is learning that he needs to play his strongest squad as often as possible. Liverpool beat Newcastle 4-1. And if you still have Ekitike, you are the real MVP. Outside Ekitike, Vats performed, Salah got an assist. And honestly, it's looking like Ekitike and Vats are the cheapest options into Liverpool players. Gordon scored for Newcastle. They had a few chances here and there, but that was about it. Aston Villa couldn't beat 10-man Brentford, and that was a shame. So if you had Aston Villa assets, that sucked. Brentford somehow keep another clean sheet. I honestly need to get into them, even though their fixtures are quite unlikely. Man United do it again. They continue the impressive run. Bruno Fernandes, who was my captain, saved the day for me with 2 assists. Earlier on, I had told you guys about Kevin. I told you how impressed I was with him. When I watch him, he excites me. He scored a wonderful goal. And I still honestly believe he's somebody worth watching. He could be a low-key, really good differential. Now, when it comes to Forest versus Palace, it was a game that ended 1-1, with Gibbs-White scoring and Sarr scoring. It was a bit of an uneventful game. Both teams could have done better, but that is how it ended, because Crystal Palace couldn't take advantage either of the red card that Forest got. And then Spurs 2, Man City 2, a draw out of nowhere. I feel like Spurs are Man City's bogey team, and it just seems like that was just what happened. Sheki had a good chance to sort of put them 3 goals up, but things didn't work out. It was a very good curling effort, but anyway, Haaland at least got 10, and maybe because he got an assist, and maybe that's what saved this weekend, because people still can't break free from Haaland. And then Sunderland did the business at home, as they usually do. I think they're the only side still unbeaten at home, or something crazy like that. I don't think unbeaten, but they have the best home record this season, and it showed. And if you have Mukiele, you got the clean sheet and the assist, which was great. The highest scoring game of the game week was Liverpool 4, Newcastle 1. Ekitike had 2 goals, Vert scored somewhere in between, and Konate scored the final goal at the end. Ekitike was very impressive in this encounter. Very fast, very quick. It's a kind of match which you watch and you immediately put him in your fantasy team. I honestly won't be surprised if you see later on that him and João Pedro are the people who are brought on the most this week. Verts is continuing to grow in his role in the team. And Salah is also there. He had the assist for Verts' goal. Salah had at least 2 chances to score. So Liverpool look like they are on the mend. Newcastle, if you remember me talking about their fixtures, I told you that they had difficult fixtures coming up, and this trend will continue. I don't know how they will handle the big teams, but so far, it's not off to a great start. So let's see what happens with them. Kirkes, Salah, and Verts had the assists for the goals. Ekitike had the 3 bonus points, Verts had 2, and Konate had 1. There are other 3-2 victories, like Man U 3-2 and Chelsea 3-2. But I think out of all of those fixtures, Liverpool-Newcastle is the most impressive result given the opponents played. Man United beating Fulham 3-2 isn't more impressive than Liverpool beating Newcastle 4-1. And Chelsea beating West Ham 3-2 isn't more impressive than Liverpool beating Newcastle 4-1. So that's why I've chosen Liverpool 4, Newcastle 1, even if it's 5 goals in total. When it comes to the most disappointing game of the game week, I really wanted to say Manchester City 2, Tottenham 2, but it was a marquee game. And marquee games tend to have surprises because there is potential for upset and potential for a difficult encounter. And that's what Manchester City found. So for that, you can't punish them in that way. The most disappointing game this week is Aston Villa 0, Brentford 1. Brentford got their red card early enough for Aston Villa to take advantage of the situation. Right before halftime, and it was Kevin Schade. So it meant that simultaneously, Brentford lost one of their best attackers, and there was more space, or at least there should have been, but they just couldn't capitalize. They did try, but they just couldn't do anything. They had a goal disallowed, which was rightfully disallowed. Dango Ouattara comes back from his silence with a really good goal. There was no real assist because it was sort of a deflected something in his path, and he took advantage of it. And of course, for me, as soon as they went down to 1-0, I was just like, oh no, another wasted week from Thiago. And now I'm in this position where I'm like, Thiago is going to score, but the minute I remove him from my team. And I said I was going to keep him for the long haul. So this is going to be a real test of if I can keep him in my team. Kelleher, if you've had Kelleher in this whole period from December, well done to you. He has been incredible. He has hauled all of the points. He got the 3 bonus points. He got, Ouattara got 2 bonus points, and Vandenberg got 2 bonus points as well. Since we've spoken about Liverpool as the marquee game, as the highest game, let's talk about Spurs as the marquee game. Even though I didn't believe they would be, I thought they'd be beaten. Manchester City started off this game at 2-0 with Sheki and Semenyo scoring, which was just like, oh, Sheki can start when Semenyo starts? So confusing, but it all happened because Doku is injured. And we're able to put Semenyo on the left, which made it easy to have Sheki on the right. So that happened, and there was an assist from Haaland, and I was like, okay, maybe he's going to score. Spoiler alert, he did not score. And then Solanke scored 2 goals, and they were not the purest of goals. All goals count, but they were just goals against run of play, and goals that really exposed Manchester City's defense, and goals that remind you why Manchester City can't win the league this season. They're too inconsistent, and they're too frail at the back. I don't know what he needs to do. But when his contract finishes, he better not sign a new one. Let him exit gracefully without being sacked. He doesn't seem to be able to solve Manchester City's defense woes. And of course, there are injuries, but he's still, I don't know. It seems like this is not a money problem, it's a tactical issue. Conor Gallagher and Xavi Simons had the assists. Solanke got the 3 bonus points, Xavi Simons got 2, and Shaki got 1. Xavi Simons had a breakout game not too long ago, and then we thought it was all going to pick up, but it didn't. But it seems he's going to have flashes here and there like Verts as he settles in. When it comes to round points, Petrovic and Kelleher both had 10 points. Raya and Roofs had 6, and in 5th place, Verbruggen had 3. When it comes to defenders, Konate had 11. Reinildo from Sunderland, who's valued at 3.8, I think he has to enter my team at that price, had 11. Ballard and Mukiele had 9. Gabriel and Senesi had 8, along with Vandenberg. When it comes to midfield, Madueke and Diarra had 14 points. I wonder how many people actually had Diarra in their team. He would have been a super differential. Scott and Casemiro had 13. Gross and Verts had 12. Zubimendi and Bruno Fernandes had 10. And as you can see, midfield was king. When it comes to forwards, Ekitike had 13. Solanke, who was also, I'm sure, a differential, had 12. João Pedro had 10. Bowen had 8. Gyökeres, Krupi Jr., and Beto had 7. And Krupi Jr.'s goal was also quite amazing, even though I think Kevin's goal is the goal of the weekend for me. Ouattara and Madueke are tied with 14 points for their highest performers of the week. Let's look at some stats generated from the game week. Milner turned 40, and he is the only player to have appeared in every FPL season since its creation in 2002, 2003. Of course, this is one of those like Ryan Giggs stats, which will just end because he can't play forever. But it's still a stat. This game week, so the worst FPL of all time, when Bednarek scored an own goal, gets sent off, and loses 9-0, and one manager triple captained him for a whopping negative 21 points. I would just die. Arsenal, as a result of proceeding in the cup yesterday by defeating Chelsea, will have a double game week in game week 26 and a blank game week in game week 31. Mukiele has had an assist in each of his last 3 games. Ayari has had positive contributions in his last 5 games, in the last 5 of 6 games. Strand Larsen has signed from Crystal Palace 2 Crystal Palace from Wolves. And for many of us, we found out that Adama Traore has signed for West Ham. João Pedro felt that. Saka is injured. If you have him, think twice. Adingra has left Sunderland and has been replaced by Nilson Angulo. Estevao is going through something personal and will not be available for Chelsea. He's been given compassionate leave. We hope he will be fine. Bruno Fernandes is having a quietly good season. He has got 12 assists, which is the first. Assists from set pieces, he has got 7, which makes him the first. Chances including assists, 68, which makes him the first. Chances created from open play, 45, which makes him the first. Big chances created, 16, which makes him the first. Through balls, 21, which makes him the first. So he is the Premier League's leading creator so far this season. Get him in your team. Manchester United have changed for the better, and he is a part of what they'll be doing going forward. Bruno was also the most transferred in, and he had a return of 10 points. So sometimes there is wisdom in the crowd. Kelleher has returned 50 points, 7 bonus points, and 4 clean sheets over the last 8 game weeks. No goalkeeper has performed better than him. Arsenal have recorded 20 clean sheets so far this season. The most clean sheets under Teta is 23, so they're not too far from that, and you know they're going to break that one. Watching the defense makes you realize how impressive that Jose Mourinho Chelsea squad was that conceded 15 goals. Because Chelsea Arsenal are not going to break that. They've already conceded more than 15 goals. It just shows you how impressive that title season was. Makes me wish I was playing fantasy then and just triple hauling from defense. In 2026, Manchester City have scored 6 goals in the first half, and in the second half, they've conceded 6 goals. So it's clear that they start well but finish poorly. For the first time since April 2018, Manchester City failed to win a match that they had led by 2 or more goals at halftime. Between this game week and April 2018 were 115 games where they had never lost or drawn when taking a 2-goal lead. Semenyo is just the second player to score in 4 of his first 5 appearances for Manchester City in all competitions. Last person to do this was Adebayo, who also scored 4. So does this mean if you don't have Semenyo, bring him on? I don't know. Shirky, his teammate, has 19 goal involvements in all competitions for Man City, 9 goals and 10 assists. The only player with more for his club in 2025-2026 is Erling Haaland, who has 32 goal contributions. A random stat. Manchester United have won 7 of their Premier League games, and that's all of the 7 games that they have had possession below 45%, even under Amorim. By contrast, they have won 4 out of 17 league games when having 45% possession or more. So basically, this is a counter-attacking team. Soak up pressure, get it to the other side quickly. Raul Jimenez scored against Manchester United. He scored a penalty, and he has scored all 12 of his penalties in the Premier League, the most by any player with a 100% scoring record from the sport in the competition's history. And he has overtaken Yaya Toure, who had 11 for 11. Manchester United have gone 2-0 up in 2 of their 3 games under Michael Carrick, just 1 fewer than they did in the 20 Premier League matches under Amorim. I tell you, manager matters. Amorim couldn't get anything out of these guys, and with the same squad, they're looking invincible. Nico Williams got sent off for a handball, which is the first straight red card for handball by an outfielder in the Premier League since August 2021, when Reece James did it versus Liverpool. At this point in the season, there have been 28 goals scored from throw-ins, and this is as many as the last 2 seasons combined. So you can tell there's a shift to set pieces. Controlled chaos, as I like to think of it. Liverpool's Ekitike and Verts have combined for 6 goals in all competitions this season, which is more than any other Premier League duo, assisting 3 goals each. So there's something happening there. There's a partnership blossoming. Watch that space. Chelsea won a game in which they've been 2 goals down behind at halftime for the first time in the 57th attempt. The first time in history. The last time, wow. Chelsea are not a comeback team, huh? It's good to know. Arsenal have now scored 4 or more goals in 5 different Premier League away games against Leeds, the joint most one side has done against another in the competition, along with Chelsea at Spurs and Manchester United at Bolton. At 27 years and 17 days, Declan Rice is the fifth youngest player to reach 300 Premier League appearances, after Wayne Rooney did it with 26 years and 58 days, Milner, 26 years and 117 days, Gareth Barry, 26 years and 247 days, and Raheem Sterling, 26 and 348 days. When it comes to DEFCON points, Enzo Lefebvre got the most actions this week, 20, Ghana, 19, Rodri, 19, Pelinia, and Anderson, 17. Our defender somebody getting CBT just needs a total of 10 clearances to earn 2 fantasy points. Midfielders need to earn 12 to get 2 fantasy points. So if they got 24, they get 4. I hope that makes sense. Axel Disasi has joined West Ham from Chelsea, and Angel Gomez and Adam Armstrong have joined Wolves from Marseille and Southampton respectively. Michael Carrick has already matched Amorim's longest winning streak, which is 3 in a row. That Manchester United fan might be able to cut his hair. Gabriel Jesus continues his record of never having lost when he has scored. And now it is 64 games and counting. Ortega has joined Nottingham Forest from Manchester City, and Tyreek George has joined Everton from Chelsea. I guess Grealish's injury has made them seek another replacement. And Fulham signed Oscar Bob. Haaland continues to be the most selected player, the most captained, and the most vice-captained. That's rare, but it shows you that people are breaking away from him if he's the most vice-captained. Top transfers brought in this week. João Pedro, 423,000, even if he came on at halftime. Bruno Fernandes, 320,000, makes sense. Enzo, 268,000, makes sense. Ekitike, 237,000, makes sense. Verts, 153,000, makes sense. All of these transfers make sense. Top players out, Saka, 257,000, makes sense. Bruno Guimaraes, 258,000, makes sense. I'm saying Thiago, 249,000, makes sense. Foden, 196,000, makes sense. And Watkins, 185,000, also makes sense. He's injured. In fact, Watkins, Bruno, and Saka are injured, so it makes sense to get them off your teams. The most points this week belong to KD Ball, who got 126 points. They used their bench boost, and that is what gave them the extra edge. In goal, they had Raya, who had 6, Timber, 5, Kukureya, 7, Gabriel and Senesi, 8, Bruno Fernandes, 10, Semenyo, 7, Verts, 12, Soboslai, 5, João Pedro, 10, Ekitike captain, 26, Kelleher, 10, Gibbs White, 8, Matson, 2, Evan Nilsson, 2. Honestly, this is a very good team. In our group, Thunderman squad managed by Randy Augusta got the most points this week, 87. In goal, they had Verbruggen, who had 3. Mukiele gave them 9. Gabriel, 8. Timber, 5. Semenyo, 7. Verts, 12. Rice, 3. Enzo Lefebvre, 5. Bruno captain, 20. Haaland, 5. João Pedro, 10. And that's how they got 87. And you can see that is a much needed improvement over last week's return, which was 66 or 67 as the highest. Number 2 was Amos Langat, who got 83. Smacha Cham got 80. Patrick Philippe and Edmond Gadumbi round up the top 5 with 79 points this game week. When it comes to the other end of the table, I Can Kick It, managed by Harry Potter, needs some magic because they're not doing too well. They got 21 points. Come on, Harry! Captain, you can already see how this was going bad. Captain Pope from Newcastle, 2 points. O'Reilly, 1. Matty Cash, 2. Gabriel, 8. Rogers, 2. Saka, 0. Foden, 1. Rice, 3. Watkins and Mateta, 0. Calvert Lewin, 2. So it is obvious that this is not a team that is active. Too many players are unavailable and injured even. But yeah. Omar Gillo was second from bottom, 23 points. Edwin Kandie, 26 points. Caleb Amondi, 28. And rounding up the bottom 5 is Dennis Mutua, 31 points. When it comes to the manager with the most points on the bench, we have a tie. Number 1 is Loki, manager of Wakudumu. On his bench, he had Petrovic, 10 points. Dogu, 0. Rogers, 2. Verts, 12. So they had 24 points on the bench. Tied in first place is John Lucas, manager of Bold Food. On their bench, they had Krupi, who had 7, Ballard, who had 9, Hill, who had 7, Dubravka, who had 1, for a total of 24. Just to show that there's more than one way to skin a cat. When it comes to the team with the most goal scorers, Mark Guilloche saw his team net 6 goals from his players. Well done to you, sir. The team with the best midfield belongs to the top manager this week, Randy Augusta, who had 47 points from his team. The team with the best defense is somebody we don't hear from in this regard. Don Clinton, his defense racked up 39 points. Well done. Dennis Com manager of the world champion, made the most transfers this week with 9. When it comes to best transfer outcome, John Lucas, who used their wild card, got 49 more points than they would have had they kept the team from last week. Well done to you, sir. Number 2 is David Moy with 33, Collins Kogi 23, Dennis Aluberi, Edmond Gadumbi, Tommy Oladipo. Well done to you, Tommy. I know you've been struggling like me. 21 points from the transfers made. Well done. When it comes to the opposite side of that stat, Abel Kibunja, Mr. Bigwigs FC, lost 28 points from the transfers made. Dennis Com lost 24. Bonaji lost 14. Mike Bogwe and Victor Nyabola round up the top 5 with negative 12. Suraj Baigane is the manager with a team who has the top value this week, 105.9. When it comes to the team with the lowest value, Angulanayo Kijana Imama is valued at 96.3. When it comes to the team with the highest change in team value, Mark Mora has added 0.5 in the bank. On the other end, Dennis Aluberi has lost 1.4 million. I think that's the most this week. I mean, even this season. When it comes to the top differential, chosen by 1%, Edwin Joroge chose Casemiro, who gave 13 points, and that was the best differential in our group. Second was 13 points, but Ekitike chosen by 22%, so that's not quite a differential, that's still high. And then when it comes to the third place is Verts, who got 12 points and was chosen by 9%. Smachacham has jumped the most positions globally, jumping up by 890,000 positions. Dennis Com has dropped by 1 million positions. That is a drop and a half. Streak of green arrows, Mr. Thagana Gaveru is still at it. Man, well done to you, sir. 9th straight week in a row. Well done. When it comes to the streak of red arrows, I am happy to report that I am no longer there. It now belongs to Walal Somali. Walal Somali, Yusufa, and Muhammad Shine. For 7 weeks in a row, they have been doing nothing, and I was hiding them. Now I have exposed their weaknesses. So do better, guys. Be like me. Now, when it comes to the league rank riser, Edmond Gadumbi and Ken Kimani have jumped 19 positions in our table. Well done to you guys. Nabil Assad has dropped 20 positions in our table. When it comes to captain choices, the most popular captain in our group still remains Haaland. He was chosen by 94 of us. In second place was Bruno Fernandes, who was chosen by 31 of us. Saka was chosen by 10 of us. Bumo was chosen by 7 of us. Palmer was captained by 4 of us. Semenyo by another 4. Ekitike by 3. Mo Salah by another 3. Thiago by another 3. Rice by another 3. Gabriel by another 3. Gyökeres by 2 others. Wood by another 2. Foden, Evan Nilsson by another 2. And then Voltemada, Jesus, Hudson-Odoi, Pope, Cunha, Grealish, Cherki, Gakpo, Raul, Mateta, Neto, and Watkins were chosen as captain by one manager each. When it comes to our table, there has been no change in the top 6 positions, which is very, very rare. 1 through 6 have maintained their positions. Number 1 is Arnold Midunga, who has 1452 points. Alan Mushangi has 1437. Leon Mortier has 1435. Papi Chulo has 1421. Charles Cadvillis has 1417. Madagani Kihoro has 1406. Amos Langat has 1400. Jeffrey Jeremy has 1398. John Mongemi has 1384. And at number 10, we have King Kev, who has 1382. Well done to all of you for your consistency. Between number 1, who has 1452, and number 20, who has 1353, is 100 points. So as you can see, there's been a breakaway group. And if you're not in it, Pole sana. If you are, there is a chance still to be number 1. I think those who are outside below number 20, they have a chance still, but it's smaller than those above them. When it comes to this game week, I would say the biggest lesson learned from the last one is moving beyond Haaland is not a bad idea. It is okay to think for yourself. It is okay to not captain Haaland. It is okay to look at others. Liverpool play Manchester City at Liverpool's home. Haaland has never scored there. So if you believe this will be his first time to score there, that's fine. But I am not going to believe that, and I encourage you not to believe that as well. The most important thing to note about this game week is that it starts on Friday. An early kickoff, Leeds versus Forest. This is going to be the game week in which Calvert-Lewin will tell me what he wants. If he wants to stay in my team or if he wants to leave. This is a game week for that. So, Forest take on Leeds in the first game of the game week on Friday. And the head-to-head favors Forest, with them having won 3, lost 1 and drawn 1. Leeds were hammered by Arsenal, which is understandable, and Forest drew with Everton. Crystal Palace. If you believe in Leeds, Calvert-Lewin, Aronson, and maybe James Justin will be the best bets. If you believe in Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White, Igor Jesus, and Elliot Anderson will be your best bets. One of the marquee games of the weekend will see Manchester United take on Tottenham. And this will be an early kickoff, which will be a relief because last weekend there was no early kickoff, which was painful. Now, Manchester United have been in great form since Carrick took over, and they should be able to beat Tottenham. Their head-to-head favors Tottenham, with Tottenham winning 4 of their last games and drawing 1. However, that was before Carrick. Under Carrick, that might not matter. If you're taking Manchester United, honestly, you're looking at Bruno and a combination of either Cunha and Ahmad, or Mbomo and Cunha. And if you're sneaky, you just take Casemiro and you keep quiet and you don't talk about it. On the Spurs end, honestly, you take Solanke, who scored 2 goals, and you gamble with Xavi Simons and maybe Romero. Arsenal take on Sunderland. Both teams won handily in the previous game week, with Arsenal running out 4-0 and Sunderland winning 3-0. Now, in this game, it must be stated that Sunderland are playing away from home and they are not good away from home. So it is much more likely that Arsenal will win, and maybe even easily, than Sunderland defeating them. If it was at home, I would have said you never know, but away from home, Sunderland just don't have that same aura. Their last encounter was 2-2, with Ballard and Brobbey scoring for Sunderland, while Saka and Trossard scored for Arsenal. Saka is unavailable for about a month, and I think Noni Madueke will be an able replacement, if not Eze. If I am choosing Arsenal players, I am honestly tempted to triple up on defense, even though Sunderland are quite likely to score. But that's just how much confidence I have in Arsenal's defense right now. I believe they will win. I believe they will be, well, I don't know about the clean sheet, but defense is their strongest asset. And therefore, defense, and then you can decide whether you believe in Madueke or Rice, and that's it. On the Sunderland end, honestly, you just take, if you're a gambler, you start with Diarra because he just scored, and maybe this is the beginning of something, and then you stick with Mokiele and Brobbey. But honestly, if you're not already in Sunderland, don't get into them for this game. Bournemouth take on Aston Villa. Aston Villa were disappointing last time out. They were beaten 1-0, and Bournemouth were impressive. They won their last game. When it comes to head-to-head, Aston Villa are favourites for this encounter. They have won 3 and drawn 2. So if you expect that to continue, you were not mistaken. Buendia, Onana, Barkley, and Malin were the last scorers in their most recent encounter when they won 4-0. So you can see it was even convincing. Now, if you're choosing Bournemouth players, I would say Evan Nielsen, Krupi and Senesi. Senesi is just a DEFCON monster, so you can't just deny that. If you're choosing Villa players, Tim Abraham had a goal disallowed. He was impressive. Him, Buendia and Rogers. Burnley take on West Ham. Both teams lost this weekend, but West Ham's was more impressive. They fought harder than Burnley did. Their head-to-head, as you expect, favors West Ham. West Ham have won 2 games, drawn 2, lost, actually, 1, 2, drawn 3. So they are favorites in this encounter. Somerville is the first player I would recommend from them. Bowen, and then maybe Wan-Bissaka, because he had 2 assists in the last game. If you're choosing a Burnley player, which you should not, Foster, Anthony, and Marcus Edwards are the players I'd recommend. Moving on, we have Everton versus Fulham. Now, when it comes to this encounter, you would be surprised if I told you Fulham are not favorites in this encounter. They're actually not favorites. Everton have won 2 of their last 5 and drawn the other 3. So it is more likely to end in a Everton victory or a draw. Keane and Idris Ganagay scored in the last time they played. So if you believe that Everton will still do well in this fixture, keep your defender, keep your Pickford or your Tarkowski or your Keane or whoever your defender is from that team. So if you're choosing your Fulham player, Jimenez, Chukwueze, and Wilson should be your favorites. For Everton, let's say Pickford, Tarkowski, and maybe Ndiaye. The next game sees Chelsea take on Wolves. Chelsea have won 4 out of their last 5 encounters and lost just 1. Last game they played, they won 3-0 with Gusto, João Pedro, and Neto scoring. So if you're to choose Chelsea players, I would encourage you to start with Neto and João Pedro, and then a defender because I'm hoping for a clean sheet. If you are choosing Wolves players, I would like you to know that Strand Larsen has moved, so do not choose him. I would say Arokodare, Mr. Mane, and Bruno are your best options. Also, I would like to mention right now, because I forgot a little earlier, that there will be a double game week in game week 26 because of Arsenal's victory over Chelsea. They will be moving to game week 26 and they'll have a blank in game week 31 in case I haven't said that, because as I said, I feel like I've said it already. Now, Manchester City, if they beat Newcastle, will have a double game week, but it will not be on game week 26. It will be most likely around game week 31. Moving on, Newcastle will take on Brentford. Newcastle were handily beaten by Liverpool in last time out, and somehow Brentford beat Aston Villa in spite having 10 men. Now, when it comes to their head-to-head, it is a bit balanced in that Brentford have won 2, Newcastle have won 3. So Newcastle are slight favorites. There is no clean sheet in this encounter in the last 5 matches, so do not double up on either team's defense. If you're going to choose Newcastle players, Gordon, Elanga, and maybe Harvey Barnes would be your best bets. Thiago, Ouattara, and maybe Janelt for Brentford because you were not going through 2 defenders this time. On the next game day, it will be Brighton versus Crystal Palace. Now, Brighton suffered a last-minute draw and Crystal Palace just drew. So both teams drew last time out. When it comes to head-to-head, Crystal Palace have won 2, Brighton have won 1, and they have drawn 2. So Crystal Palace are slightly favored in this encounter historically, but on the ground, Brighton should be favorites because Crystal Palace have been slumping like me. And now, if you believe in Brighton, they will be, let's see, Mitoma will be good for you, Gross and Ayari. That's how I would play that. If you're going with Crystal Palace, I would encourage you to give Sarr your first option, and then maybe Munoz and Strand Larsen. The final game of the game week will see Liverpool take on Manchester City at home. In their last encounters, in the last 5 encounters, Manchester City has won 1, Liverpool have won 2, and they have drawn twice. So, in my view, that means Liverpool are favored. Now, both teams, well, let me start off by saying Liverpool hammered Newcastle, so they are in better form than Manchester City, who drew with Spurs. Also, I think now that Liverpool have Salah back, they seem more solid. Man City still feel frail at the back. And because of this, I think they can be gotten at. Having watched Ekitike's impressive performance against Newcastle, I think he can exploit them. Haaland has never scored at Anfield, so don't make him your captain. That is, you can still have him, of course, because he's Haaland, and he can score, but he has never scored at Anfield. Now, this game is quite easy to recommend. Ekitike, Wirtz, and Salah as your Liverpool choices, or if not Salah, Szoboszlai. For Manchester City, Semenyo has been scoring, it feels like, all the games. Sheki and Mr. Haaland. And if you don't want Sheki, maybe Silva, because you know he'll play, it's a big game. He plays big games. Both teams, their defense is nothing to write home about. And therefore, if you don't have a defender, do not bring in a defender. And if you have a defender, I would encourage you to rest him. Just rest him. So, when looking at the fixtures, who is the best captain to have? Leeds versus Forest. If you chose Gibbs White, or maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I wouldn't be angry with you. Man United versus Spurs. Bruno is a safe captain at this point. And then you can gamble with Mbumo, or you can take Cunha. Or if you're really clever, or maybe if you're really gambling, Casemiro. Spurs and just Solanke. Arsenal versus Sunderland, a defender, maybe Gabriel. Since going forward, it's not safe, but maybe Madueke could be something interesting. On the Sunderland end, I wouldn't encourage you to take a captain. Bournemouth versus Aston Villa, maybe Evan Nilsson or Krupi Jr. And if not them, maybe Tammy or Buendia. Burnley versus West Ham, Bowen or Somerville. Fulham versus Everton, Harry Wilson, Raul Jimenez, or maybe Tarkowski, or even Pickford. Wolves versus Chelsea, I would say João Pedro. They're playing the best form right now. And if you believe in the clean sheet, maybe Chalupa. Newcastle versus Brentford, I would go Igor Tiara. What kind of name is that? Igor Thiago or Watara. You can see I was confused a bit. On the Newcastle end, Gordon. Brighton versus Crystal Palace. Let's see. Maybe Mitoma. But actually, don't choose a captain from this game because I'm struggling to think of a captain in this game. And that's the answer. Liverpool versus Man City, Ekitike, Wirtz. And if you want a Man City captain, do Semenyo or Sheki. Before we go, let's look at the number 1 team in the world. The number 1 team in the world is called the A-Team, which is appropriate. They got 82 points this week. Raya was in goal with 6 points, Gabriel 8, Ballard 9, Van Hecke 2, Mitoma 2, Rice 3, Gordon 6, Captain Bruno 20, Haaland 5, Ekitike 13, Bowen 8. And that's how they got 82 points. Number 1 in the world has 1593 points, which is over 200 more than our group's leader. So in case you're wondering what to do with your transfers, maybe just look at that team and maybe get yours a little closer to them and maybe you'll be moving in the right direction. Outside that, I hope you enjoy the Newcastle Man City game tonight and we will see you on Friday. Have a great remainder of your week. Bye.